All right, first off, before we do anything else here, before I get into the topic, before the theme song plays, before the usual, hey, hey, let me just go ahead and acknowledge the very obvious fact that this mainline Monday episode is not exactly arriving on Monday. And that, my friends, is because the flu rolled through my house like it had a personal grudge. I'm talking disrespectfully. I'm talking one of those situations where everything is fine. Everybody's living life, vibing, doing normal people things, and then out of nowhere, it's like some invisible plague goblin kicked down the door and went, nah, not this week, buddy. This week belongs to me. And man, did it take us out. I mean, absolutely. And not in a cool, dramatic action movie way either. Not in a they fought valiantly kind of way. No. In a deeply pathetic, mouth breathing, soup sipping, blanket cocoon looking at the ceiling kind of way. The kind of way where you stand up way too fast and your entire body is like, please sit your ass back down. So, if you were waiting on this episode and wondering where I was at, just know your boy was out here fighting for his life in the least dignified way possible. And the worst part about being sick like that is you can't even really enjoy the stuff that you normally do. Like, I tried. I really, really did. I was like, okay, maybe I can game just a little bit. Fired something up, stared at the screen, got about 10 minutes in, and my brain was basically just Windows shutdown music. Just absolutely no processing power left. So then I'm like, okay, forget that. I'll just scroll a little bit, watch some nonsense on TikTok, do what we all do when our body is failing, but our phone battery is somehow still at 95%. And even that wasn't hitting. Headache, eyes hurting, everything annoying. And so eventually I did something that I honestly don't do very often anymore. I just sat there, like really sat there. No TV on in the background, no game in my hands, no doom scrolling, no, let me just check one thing real quick that turns into 45 minutes of accidentally learning about some guy who restores old vacuum cleaners out in Wisconsin. Just me, existing. Miserably, sure, but existing. And after a while, once I got past the man, this sucks phase of being sick and bored, something weird started happening. My brain started wandering. And not in some profound cinematic, the secrets of the universe were revealed to me type of way, more like random memories started popping up. Dumb stuff. Stuff from my childhood, half formed ideas, little scenes and feelings, and weird nostalgic fragments. Stuff I hadn't thought about in years, and it hit me that I almost never let my brain do that anymore. Like, ever. Because now, the second there's dead air, the second there's downtime, the second there's even a hint of boredom creeping in, we kill it almost immediately. We assassinate boredom on site. Phone, apps, videos, podcasts, music, background noise, group chats, something, anything. Just so we don't have to sit in that weird empty space for even like 30 seconds. And I had this moment laying there under a blanket looking like a Civil War ghost where I started thinking to myself, when did we stop doing that? When did we stop just being bored long enough for our brains to actually go somewhere? Because I remember when I was a kid, boredom wasn't the end of the experience. No, boredom was the start of it. That was where the good stuff happened. That was where imagination kicked in. That was where a backyard turned into a battleground. Where a stick became a sword, where your bike became a speeder bike or a dirt bike, or a damn battle vehicle depending on what kind of mood you were in. Back then, having nothing to do was basically the loading screen before your brain came up with something absolutely ridiculous. And nowadays, I don't know, guys. It feels like we've gotten so good at staying connected, staying entertained, staying stimulated, staying plugged in all the time that maybe we lost something in the process. Or maybe not really lost, maybe buried, maybe drowned out, maybe traded in. I don't really know. But I do know this. I've been thinking a lot lately about imagination. Not just in the, oh, remember being a kid kind of way. I mean, for real. What it did for us, how it shaped us, why it felt so natural back then, and why now it feels like for a whole lot of people, the second life gets quiet, they reach for a screen before they ever reach for their own thoughts. So that's what we're going into today. We're going to talk about boredom. We're going to talk about being chronically online. We're going to talk about childhood play, games, stories, creativity, all of it. And yeah, probably roast ourselves just a little along the way because let's be honest, I'm not sitting up here on some anti-phone mountain preaching from the clouds. I live in this mess too. I'm in the algorithm trenches with the rest of you. But I do think something changed. And I think it's worth talking about. Because I miss the version of life where the simplest thing in the world could become something huge just because your brain allowed it to. So, let's get into it. Hey, and welcome to, or welcome back to, the Average Joe Nerdcast. I'm Nate, your resident Average Joe, lifelong nerd, nostalgia addict, and apparently now, a man who survived the flu and lived to tell the tale. Barely. We're hanging on by a thread over here, people, but we made it. And honestly, I feel like that's a pretty good summary of adulthood in general. Just, yeah, I'm here, I'm functioning, don't ask too many questions. And if you're new to the show, welcome to the Nerdcast. This is where we talk gaming, nostalgia, internet culture, and every once in a while we zoom out a little bit and we talk about the stuff underneath all of it. The stuff that shaped how we grew up, how we played, how we see the world now. Because, yeah, we love talking Halo, Resident Evil, movies, TV shows, all the good stuff. But at the end of the day, those things hit the way they do because of who we were when we experienced them. And that's kind of what this episode is about. Not a specific game, not a specific movie, but something that made all of those experiences so much better. Something that filled in the gaps when graphics couldn't, when stories didn't spell everything out, when you had to bring just a little bit of yourself into it. I'm talking about imagination. And more importantly, I'm talking about what changed. Because I don't think it just disappeared. I think we just stopped using it the same way. So to really get into this, we got to go back for a second. Like, actually back. Back to when having nothing to do was kind of the whole point. So we're going back, but not like to, oh yeah, 2016 was pretty crazy, right? I'm talking pre-smartphone, pre-constant internet, pre-everything being on demand. Just you, your friends, and whatever happened to be around you at that time. Because when we were kids, we didn't just play games. We created them. And not in some structured, here are the rules, here's the objective kind of way. I'm talking straight up chaos-based creativity. Like, there was no planning phase. Nobody showed up with a whiteboard like, all right, guys, here's the gameplay loop. Here's the mechanics. Here's how we're going to balance this. Absolutely not. It was literally just somebody saying something dumb like, yo, what if we're like soldiers? And instantly, everyone was like, sure. No questions asked, no follow-up, no clarification, just full-blown commitment. And then 5 minutes later, it's like, okay, so we're soldiers, but also ninjas now. There's zombies. There's definitely zombies. And also, for some reason, there's a dragon. And no one ever stopped and went, "Hey, dude, I feel like we're mixing genres just a little too aggressively here." No, if anything, you just doubled down. You added more because the goal wasn't consistency. The goal was whatever felt the coolest in the moment. And bro, the acting, we were putting on some performances, let me tell you. I'm talking full body commitment, dramatic deaths, rolling across the ground like you just got hit by something that absolutely did not exist, making sound effects with your mouth like your life depended on it. Pew pew pew! Ah, I got you! No, you didn't! Ah! And if somebody hit you with a good enough sound effect, you respected it. I mean, you had to. That was honor. We had an unspoken code. And then there were the environments, because nothing was ever just what it was. Your backyard wasn't your backyard. That was a battlefield or a jungle or an alien planet, depending on how ambitious you were feeling that day. That one tree, sniper tower. The ditch out front, that's a trench. The neighbor's yard you weren't supposed to go into, oh, that's enemy territory. That's high risk, high reward gameplay right there. And the crazy part is, we all saw it. And not with our eyes, but in our heads. We all agreed this is what this is now. And that was enough for us. And then we got to talk about the most overpowered item of all time: sticks. Man, sticks were broken. I mean, absolutely broken. One stick could be a lightsaber, a sword, a gun, a bow and arrow if you were creative enough, a wizard staff if you suddenly developed a really good British accent out of nowhere. "You shall not pass!" And then your mom immediately would be like, "You shall come in this house right now!" Same stick, same day, completely different universes. And we didn't need anything else. No upgrades, no skins, no downloadable content, just your imagination. And here's the part that really hits me now looking back. None of that existed. Like, physically. None of it was real. But it all felt real. It all felt important. It felt immersive. Because we made it that way. Our brains filled in everything, the visuals, the stakes, the story. We weren't consuming anything. We were creating it together. And I don't think we realized how powerful that was at the time, because to us it just felt normal. But the more I think about it now, the more I realize none of that happens unless something else happens first. And that something is boredom. Like, straight up, if you remove boredom from that equation, all those memories we just talked about, they don't exist. Because boredom was the starting point, not the problem. And I think that's something we've completely flipped now, because when we were kids, boredom wasn't something you avoided, it was something you ran headfirst into. Constantly. Like it was just part of the day. You'd wake up, do whatever you were doing, maybe watch some TV, maybe play a video game for a bit, and then eventually you'd hit that wall. That moment where you're just sitting there like, huh, all right, now what? And there was no easy answer. No phone to grab, no endless scroll, no algorithm waiting to serve you something perfectly tailored to your attention span. Hell, there wasn't even anything to check. Like, what were you going to do? Log into MySpace and see if Tom updated his status? So you had two options. You could sit there and do nothing. Or your brain would go, all right, we got to come up with something. And that's where imagination kicked in. And not because you scheduled it, not because you decided to be creative today, but because your brain had no other choice. All right, dude, we're bored. This sucks. What if we did something stupid? What if we built something? What if we went outside? What if we climbed that thing we absolutely shouldn't be climbing? And somehow that always turned into something. And not just something, but something memorable. Because boredom forced your brain to engage. It forced you to participate. It forced you to create. And I don't think we talk about that enough. Because nowadays, boredom doesn't even get a chance to do its job. We've gotten so efficient at eliminating it that we never hit that point anymore. The very second there's just a little bit of downtime, phone. The second something gets quiet, something plays. The second your brain starts to wander, you interrupt it. And don't get me wrong, I do it too. I am not sitting here like some enlightened monk who's above it all. I am in the trenches with the rest of y'all. And I got the same apps, the same exact habits, the same, let me just check one thing real quick, that turns into me somehow watching a video about a guy restoring a lawnmower from the 80s. Like, how did I even get here? But I've noticed something. I don't let myself be bored anymore, like at all. And when I accidentally do, it kind of feels uncomfortable, like something's wrong. Like I should be doing something, checking something, filling that space with something, and that's such a weird shift when you think about it. Because that space, that uncomfortable, quiet, nothing happening space, that used to be the doorway. That was where everything started. And nowadays, we treat it like something to escape. And I think that might be one of the biggest reasons imagination doesn't hit the same way anymore. Because if you never give your brain that moment, it never has a reason to really go anywhere. And this is where it starts to get just a little uncomfortable. Because it is really easy to sit here and go, man, things were better back in the day. We had imagination, but kids these days, nah. I'm not doing that, because this isn't just a kids these days thing. This is a we thing. Like I said earlier, I caught myself doing it, and once you notice it, you can't really unsee it. You ever have like just 20 seconds of nothing? Not even a full minute, just a tiny gap in your day. Whether it's waiting in line or sitting in your car before you go into a store, or standing in your kitchen while something's heating up in the microwave. That moment where there's just absolutely nothing happening. And before your brain even has a chance to go anywhere, your hand's already moving. Phone. Not even consciously. It's almost automatic. You unlock it, open an app, don't even know why you opened that app. Close it, open another one. Go back to the first one like something new magically appeared in the last 12 seconds. Bro, I have refreshed the same app 3 times in a row like it owes me money. And that's the part that gets me. It's not even about what we're looking at. Most of the time, it's nothing important. We're not learning something life-changing. We're not gaining some incredible insight. We're just filling space, killing time, avoiding that quiet. And the wild part is, we don't even realize we're doing it anymore. It's just built into us now because we've trained ourselves and honestly been trained that every single moment should be filled. Every second should have something happening, something playing, something grabbing our attention. And if nothing's happening, that means something's wrong. That means we need to fix it. And the fastest way to fix it, pull out the phone. And again, I'm not above this. I do this constantly. Like I will literally be watching something and then grab my phone to watch something else while I'm already watching something. What are we even doing? We got double stimulation like we're trying to speed run dopamine. And it's funny, but it's also kind of wild when you step back and just look at it. Because we've created a world where there is literally no reason to ever be bored. Ever. There is always something. And on the surface, that sounds amazing, right? But when you connect it back to what we were just talking about, that means there's almost no reason anymore for your brain to just go, all right, now what? Because now what gets answered instantly, every single time. And if that question never even gets asked, Imagination never has to show up. And then you layer the algorithm on top of that. Because now it's not just that you have access to everything, it's that everything is tailored just for you. It already knows what you like, what keeps you watching, what keeps you scrolling. So instead of your brain exploring, something else is doing the exploring for you, feeding you exactly what it thinks you want before you even realize you want it. And again, it's kind of impressive. It is convenient. It's kind of insane when you really think about it. But it also means your brain doesn't have to wander anymore. It just follows. And I think that's where things really start to shift, especially when you look at how we experience video games and stories and all the stuff we love now. Because back then, those things needed something from us. And now, they don't. And that right there changes everything. And this is where I think it really clicked for me. When I started looking at this through gaming, because if there's anything we've all spent a ridiculous amount of time doing, it's playing games. Like, let's be honest, some of us have put more hours into virtual worlds than actual hobbies. And no judgment from me. I'm right there with you. But when you compare how games felt back then to how they feel now, there's something subtle that has changed. And it's not just graphics, it's not just size, it's not even just mechanics. It's the role your imagination played in the experience. Because older games, they needed you. They had to. They couldn't show you everything. They didn't have the tech. They didn't have the storage. They didn't have the ability to fully render every detail, every emotion, every environment. So your brain filled it in. And you didn't even realize you were doing it. Like, think about early games. Think about walking through a level that realistically was pretty simple, but in your head, it felt massive. It felt alive because your brain was adding layers to it. Or horror games. Half the fear wasn't what you saw on screen, it was what you thought might be there. That hallway, it wasn't scary because of what was on screen. It was scary because your brain was like, yeah, something's about to go very wrong here. And most of the time, your brain made it worse than the game ever could. Your imagination was doing half the work. And that wasn't a flaw. That was the magic. Same thing with storytelling. Not everything was spelled out. Not everything was explained. There were gaps. And those gaps, that's where you came in. You filled them with your own thoughts, your own interpretations, your own imagination. And that made the experience feel personal. It felt like you were a part of it, not just watching it, not just playing it, but contributing to it. And now, games, they are insane. Like, legitimately insane. Photorealistic graphics, massive open worlds, full voice acting, cinematic storytelling, every single detail polished to perfection. And yes, it is incredible. I'm not sitting here pretending like we'd go backwards. Not a chance. I like my games looking good. But everything is there now. Nothing is left to the imagination. The world is fully built, the characters are fully realized, the story is fully delivered. You don't have to fill anything in. And that's where that trade happens. We gained immersion, but we lost participation. Because back then, part of what made those experiences hit so hard was that your brain was working right alongside them. You weren't just consuming it, you were co-creating it, even if you didn't realize it at the time. But now, it's more like everything is presented to you perfectly. And again, that's not really a bad thing, it's just different. And I think that difference is part of what we're feeling, even if we don't have the words for it. Because when you connect that back to everything we've been talking about, boredom, constant stimulation, never letting your brain wander, it starts to make complete sense. We didn't lose imagination. We just stopped needing it the same way. And that changes how everything feels. Now, before we spiral too far into existential gamer philosophy, we gotta pay some bills real quick. This episode of the Average Joe Nerdcast is brought to you by Imagination Plus. Yeah, you heard that right. Imagination Plus. The world's first streaming service that streams absolutely nothing. Are you tired of constant stimulation? Do you miss having original thoughts? Do you remember those? For just $9.99 a month, we will come to your house, take your phone, unplug your Wi-Fi router, and place you gently outside with a stick. That's it. That's the whole service. No tutorials, no instructions, no onboarding process. Figure it out. Early users have reported side effects such as, I built a fort and I don't know why. I started telling a story out loud to myself. I called my friend instead of texting him, and it felt illegal. One user even reported, I looked at the sky for 10 minutes and didn't die. Doctors are confused. Scientists are concerned. Big tech is watching closely. Imagination Plus, because apparently we gotta subscribe to just being human again. Use code TOUCHGRASS for 0% off, because we're not giving you a discount. Trust us, you need this. Okay, so here's where I want to be totally fair about all of this. Because it would be really easy to turn this into one of those conversations where it's just like, well, back in my day, everything was better, and kids today are doomed. Nah, we're not doing that either. Because imagination didn't disappear. It didn't die, it just changed. And honestly, in some ways, it got kind of insane. Like, look at what people are doing now. Kids building entire cities in Minecraft that look better than real towns. People making full-blown games inside of games like Roblox or Fortnite. YouTube creators telling stories, editing, animating, doing stuff that would have required an entire studio back in the day. That is imagination. That's creativity. That's people taking something and turning it into something bigger. So it's not like it's gone. It just lives somewhere else now. But here's the difference. It's happening inside a system, inside a framework. There's still tools, still structure, still something already there to build on. And again, that's not necessarily bad, but it's different from nothing to something. And it's more like something to more something. And I think that right there is the shift. Because when we were kids, we started with nothing, no system, no structure, no platform. Just whatever our brain could just come up with. And now, creativity still absolutely exists, but it's usually guided, supported, built within something. And that changes how it feels. It changes how it starts. And I think that's why this whole thing started hitting me just a little different recently. Because it's not just about games or phones or the internet. It's about something a little more simple than that. Something we don't really make space for anymore. And honestly, this is where my brain went somewhere I didn't expect. Because I started thinking about my dog Ripley. And for those of you who might be new around here to the Nerdcast, we lost Ripley about a year ago now. And if there was ever a creature that lived completely in the moment, it was that dog. There was never any overthinking, no distractions, no what else should I be doing right now? Whatever was happening was the most important thing in the world. especially if it was a stick. And I mean that seriously. Every stick was the stick, not just a stick, not something to mess with for just a minute. This was the greatest stick that had ever existed, and she believed that with her whole soul. And I think that's what's hit me, because we've got access to literally anything now. More content, more entertainment, more ways to fill every single second of our lives. And somehow it feels like we're less present. Meanwhile, our dog Ripley didn't need any of that. Give her a backyard, give her something to chase, give her you. And that was it. That was the world. And I don't know if that's imagination in the way we've been talking about it this whole episode, but it's something really close. It's that ability to take something simple like a stick and let it become something completely huge, something meaningful, something that feels like it matters. And I think we lose that just a little bit as we get older. And not because we can't do it anymore, but because we stop allowing ourselves. Everything has to be productive. Everything has to be optimized. Everything has to be worth our time. And Ripley didn't care about any of that. She just lived fully, loudly, completely in the moment. And maybe that's part of what we're really talking about right now. Not just imagination as kids, but that ability to be present enough to let something simple feel big again, to live just a little more like Ripley. And I think that ties into all of this more than anything, because imagination, it's not just about creating worlds. It's about how we experience the one we're already in. And I don't really think it's gone. I don't think we lost it. I think it's still there. It's just buried. Buried under noise, buried under notifications, buried under constant stimulation. Because the same brain that turned a stick into a lightsaber, that turned a backyard into a battlefield, that created entire worlds out of nothing. It never went anywhere. It just doesn't get called on anymore because we don't give it the space. And maybe that's all it really needs. Just a little space again. All right, my friends. That's it. That's today's episode of the Average Joe Nerdcast. But I want to hear from you on this one. What was your go-to imaginary game growing up? Backyard war stories? Couch cushion forts? Absolute nonsense with your friends that made zero sense but felt like the most important thing in the world at the time. Head on over to Facebook and search Average Joe Nerdcast the lobby and join the page. And then drop your stories there. I want to hear all of it. Let's bring some of that energy back. And hey, maybe sometime this week, find your version of that stick again. Whatever that looks like for you. Something simple, something real, something that doesn't need a screen, or a notification, or a reason. Just something you let yourself enjoy. As always, shout out time. Shout out to my player 2. The only person who can perfectly balance all of this and still put up with me doing this. And shout out to my brother, my co-pilot in all things nerd culture, bad decisions, and late night just one more game that turns into 4 more hours. And shout out to each and every one of you. Seriously, whether you've been here since day one or you just found the show, you're part of this now. The lobby, it's not just a name. It's the whole vibe. It's the community. It's the fact that none of us are really doing this alone. So if you enjoyed the episode, please follow the show, then leave a 5-star rating and review, and then share it with somebody who used to turn sticks into swords and bikes into battle machines. Let's bring a little bit of that back. And I'll be sure to drop a link to the private Facebook group in the show notes. Or, like I said just a minute ago, you can head straight over to Facebook and in the search bar, just type Average Joe Nerdcast, the lobby, and you will find the page. Until next time, stay gold, nerd bold, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Game over.